Our current criminal legal system believes that when harm happens, the scales of justice are imbalanced. I believe that too, absolutely. But what I believe brings back that balance isn't conviction, isn't execution, isn't life without parole. Now, there may need to be a season, here's some more specific language. There may need to be a season of separation without harm for an individual. Someone may need to be removed from a situation, a person, or from society. But the goal of that is ultimately to have that person reintegrated back into community. And we already believe this as Christians, right? If we did church discipline in the right way, that's exactly what it is, right? We approach someone. If that's rebuff, we approach with a group, we bring it before the church, and then that person is removed. Excommunication is never meant to be this permanent, lasting punishment. It is meant to be this thing that is done for the safety of the community, because harm is always communal in its effect, and it is done with an invitation to return. It is done always with a handout of welcome, of return to this, healing is offered to you. But if you can't pursue that, in order to protect this community, we might need to remove someone for a season. But that removal itself isn't actually the punishment. That's what our criminal legal system does. It has imprisonment as the actual punishment.
This can become a commune where everyone just helps each other. Yeah, we'll have one guy who makes bread, and one guy who he looks out for other people's safety.
You mean like a baker and a cop?
No.
We all have trauma, or most of us have trauma within our backgrounds. And yet we also, as we engage other people and can move towards healing. It doesn't disqualify us from that. And when we do that work of engaging that trauma, either ours or somebody else's, it's hard. It's actually being really tough on crime to force someone, or not force, but to bring someone into a situation where they are allowed to confront that. You talk with people who've done especially violent crime against individuals who are willing to go through like a restorative justice process and sit down with that person and talk, and they will say it is the hardest thing that they have ever done.
Yeah.
So if we actually want to call people who have done harm to others and to be tough on crime, it's having those individuals confront what they've done. It's having those individuals be held accountable. You talked about that word earlier, but accountability is a word that we often use as being synonymous with punishment.
Yeah.
But when I say that, that's not what I mean. To really hold someone accountable for harm that they've done requires that person to acknowledge what they've done, to acknowledge the effect it had on someone, to do some physical act of repair that's most often dictated by that person who did the harm. And then the change is something needs to change in that person's life or their surrounding institution or at the systemic level, so that thing can't happen again.
This is an allusion to a conversation I had on Pass the Mic with one of the staffers at The Witness, Bria Perry. And we were talking about what does justice look like when harm and violence has been done. So in the case of, let's say, convicting the police officers who kill an unarmed Black person, is that justice? Is that accountability? Is it something else? How do you sort of parse through that?
It's so weighty. Just yesterday, we heard about an individual who had been convicted. My wife and I did. And she goes, "Oh, good." And I said, "Good?" She goes, "That's right. Wait, we don't believe in prisons and what they're doing." I'm like, right. Ultimately, we're talking about justice not being punishment, but justice being safety, healing, and accountability. What I want is when harm happens, for someone's knee-jerk reaction not to be what was the crime and who should be punished, but who was harmed and who is it that needs healing? And who do I need to bring into my community to help that healing be pursued? If we did that and we pursue the answers to those questions, we would be building that system. What exactly is it going to look like? Nobody knows. And the most honest people in the movement will say, we're not fully sure, because some of that depends on what does my community need.